everyone, and welcome to a natural embodied movement tip. So today I want to share with you how I coach and cue something called knee sways or thoracic rotation. And there's a couple of cues that can help you feel that and sense that in your body a little bit deeper, and it will even increase range of motion. So I like to think about the body as everything in relationships, and how one thing is spiraling one way, there's a counter spiral happening elsewhere. So this basic movement, I see it taught a lot on social media. It's a great movement. However, it can be done in a couple ways that are not as effective. So the knees are up, the pelvis is in neutral. You want to feel your rib cage drop down. So before I lift my feet, I want to try to feel my breastbone heavy, my ribs heavy, and then my pelvis in a neutral position, right? Then the arms come out to T arms. And I want to think of heavy arms, heavy shoulders, heavy hips, then bring my feet up. So all this matters, that I'm imprinting naturally, right? Connecting to the breath, right? The knees need to stay stacked. So one of the things that I see is that when people take their knees to the side, what you get is this top knee falling back. So that hip is trying to counter or compensate. So you don't want this knee to fall back, right? Instead, you only want to go as far as you can keep this knee in line. So that means this hip has to lift, which means in order to keep your shoulder and rib cage down, there has to be rotation through thoracic. If I let my hip drop, I'm not getting thoracic rotation fully, right? So that's part one, is keeping the knees stacked. Now, as I keep the knees stacked, my right hip is going leftward, right? Now, instead of just thinking about pulling your shoulder and pulling your rib cage just down to counter, what I like to think about is the whole entire rib cage spiraling rightward. And you see how I just got more range of motion by thinking more connectedly. So my rib cage goes rightward as my pelvis goes leftward, and I'm getting more range of motion, and I'm not even thinking about pulling this down. It just naturally stays down. So now knees stacked, pelvis, find my natural imprint with gravity. I want to work in relationship with gravity, so I want to feel my bones heavy. And now as my pelvis and my knees are moving because my pelvis is tilting or it's rotating to the right, right? Then I want to think about my rib cage rotating leftward, and that counter spiral just gave me more natural range of motion, right? So knees or pelvis goes leftward. I'm going to think of my rib cage spiraling rightward, right? Knees rightward or pelvis rightward and rib cage leftward. Okay, and that is all. Hope that's helpful. I would love to hear if that makes a difference. Sometimes that movement used to bother my back, or I would be really limited in that range of motion. And when I started playing with spirals, studying embryology, fascial connections, relationships in the body, relationships to gravity, I began to develop more sense of fluid connection and ease. So I would really, really appreciate if that's helpful, and if you understand that, and if not, ask any questions to get clear. Yeah. All right. Thank you, and stay tuned.